In this last installment of our series on use of filters in CSST and for reporting purposes, we want to take a look at a complex set of filtering requirements that came, an actual set of requirements that came from one of our customers in Arkansas. So you can consider this a graduate level exercise in filter building. The requirements from the Arkansas user were that they wanted to be able to create a list of all clients who were enrolled in a particular program or a particular set of programs, and then from that list include only those people who are any one of these other three requirements, where the client is in a family with a family member under 5 years old, or the client's in a family with a family member over 65 or a senior citizen, and the ages in both of those cases can be defined on the fly, so they wouldn't have to be 5 and 65 necessarily. And finally, if they are also or in a family with a family member who is disabled. And from that set of results, they need to be able to determine the number of individual clients, the number of families, and optionally to be able to list the individual clients or to list only the individual families. So let's take a look at how we go about doing that in CSST. Now, the first requirement is a separate issue that we're going to use the filter builder as accessed from the client's form in order to set this up, and you'll see how we apply this a little bit later. We need to save a set of filter conditions, so we're going to go to the filter builder with the filters button, go to the custom client selection criteria, and then we need to select the clients table. We need to select the head of household field and make sure that that would be the head of household checkbox on the client's form. Make sure that that's true or set to yes. And you see that we already have it in the list here. We can click Add to List, which would add it again, or we can just click Edit List and set it up. Now, what we need to do in order to be able to use this in the future without having to come back and reset up these individual requirements is to save that as a named set. So I'm going to click the Save button. We'll put in Head of Household. Say OK. And then just for the exercise, we can click Apply and then Continue, and it will give us in our client's form the list of all of our client data set that is checked off as head of household. Now, in order to use those conditions, we can use any one of a number of different super reports or report builders. The two that are most likely to be useful to you would be the client list, this one, or alternatively the custom client list, which we'll come back to and discuss a little bit later. Let's use the client list now for the example. So to bring that up, we just click Run. Brings up the report setup wizard. Do we want to use our last client filter? Well, no, in this case, because we want to establish these conditions from scratch. So we bring up the report setup wizard, and on the first page we have the option of filtering the list of clients to be included in this report. That's exactly what we want to accomplish here. In order to set up all those custom filter conditions, we use the Custom button, which brings up the client filter builder. That's exactly the same, identical to the one that we activated a few minutes ago from the client's form. Now, in this case, we're looking for, initially, we're looking for a list of clients who are enrolled in a particular program or a particular set of programs. And the easiest way to get that is with a custom CSST query, and those are accessible using this CSST query button. So we click that. It brings up the list of CSST queries that are available to us, and the one we want is Program Enrollment by Wizard. So we click Apply on that, and that brings up the it's actually the same report setup wizard as is used for the report clients enrolled in programs. But in this case, all we're doing is we're going to create a list of clients who are enrolled or by other means associated with a particular set of programs. So on the left side here in this mover list, we've got all the various programs that are available to us. I've already selected the ones that we want to use. You can select any ones you want. It can be one or as many as you like. And then the other key points that you need to set up here are the dates, and these will be the enrollment dates where the client is enrolled in this program between these two dates set up at the top. and you need to choose whether you want enrollment or participation records. Well, in this case, we're looking for actual enrollment records. So this is all set the way we want it. We're looking for fiscal year 2013, so that would be October 1st of 2012 through September 30th of 2013. The next step in this setup wizard allows us to further apply client characteristic conditions, but we're not interested in that in this case, so we just click Finish at this point. And it gives us then back in our report setup wizard a total of 4,341 clients who meet those conditions. In other words, who have enrollment records between those two setup dates in the 4 programs that we had selected. Now, we need to further filter that list to get those that have the a family member under 5, a family member over 65, or a family member who is disabled. And the way to do that is that you can combine the results as currently displayed here with any other CSST query by right-clicking the CSST query button, and then you'll get an option to include the currently selected list, all of those that are in that list in the query that you're about to run, or you can select all from the current list that are not in the new query. Well, in this case, we want in both. And then we have an option now to select another CSST query. And in this case, what we want is one called Combine, which allows us to combine the results of 3 separate queries. So when we click Apply on that, it brings up this dialog, which allows us now to choose three separate CSST queries in the 3 drop-down lists and combine those in ways which are flexible based on using the and or operators in between and using the parentheses that surround those. So let's choose the ones we want. The first one will be clients in families, as soon as I can find it. Okay, it's clients and families with persons under or over a selected age. There we go. Clients and families with persons over or under a selected age. And then since we want people who are in that query or in the query where the client has a family member over 65, we want or in both cases here. And once again, same query, clients and families with persons over or under a selected age. And then finally in the last one, we want disabled family member. So anyone who's in a family with a disabled family member would be included in this query. Now, if this is set the way we want it, and the parentheses in this case, since both operators are or, are really not relevant. They control the order of operations. But if you imagine that this one was and, then what we would be saying here is that we want everybody who is in this first query and in the second query, or as another alternative in the third query. And you can change that order of operations by clicking on one of the red parentheses to make it like this, in which case we've changed the order, the way things are set up, such that the client needs to be in both of the first 2 or in the third. So there's a subtle difference there, but if we're doing or in both, then the parentheses controlling order of operations don't matter. So now at this point we can go ahead and run this. And the first thing we're going to get is a pop-up asking us for the age on this first query. So we say OK. We'll run this up to 5. We want it to be less than. And that is as of today's date by default. We'll leave that as is, but you could change that date to some other date if you wanted to. So their age as of a particular date. Say OK. And then it's going to run the second query, and in this one we want 65 as the age, and we want to toggle the less than to greater than. We'll still use today's date. We say OK. And then it runs the third query automatically because there's no input parameters required for that one with the disability. And we end up now with 3,447 clients out of the original 4,300 that meet both conditions. In other words, that they are enrolled in a particular program and they are in one of those three categories of people with family members under 5, over 65, or disabled. Now at this point, you've got a list of clients. If you want to limit that to only family members, then the way to do that would be to limit it to heads of household. And the way to do that is to use the combine button, which allows us to choose, again, those who are in both, which is what we want in this case, and the previously saved head of household collection. So we can click apply here, and we see now that of the 3,400 or so that we had there before, we're now down to 3,362 that are actual heads of household. So that will limit your list now. Instead of just all clients that were meeting all of those criteria, it will be only those who are heads of household, and therefore by definition one person per family. So you've got now a count of families rather than a count of clients. Now, given the list filtered as we have it, we've got a couple of options for output, and that is that we can we need to actually hit continue on this, which applies this filtered list of clients back to our report setup wizard. Now we have a couple of options that we can go to in terms of output. We can choose CSBG section G, which by definition is counts, and that will give us a count both of the client count in the filtered list and of the number of families. So had we left the list unfiltered for head of household, we've had a list of all clients there, we would be getting a count of both the number of individual clients and the number of families that are in that list by using the section G. If you want to see the list of names, then change the output option to client list, and that will give you the listing of the actual names that are included in the report. Now I'm going to cancel this report and go back and talk briefly about the other possibility here. That's custom client list. When we run this one, the first thing that comes up is a selection of the fields that you want to see. In other words, what pieces of information about this particular listing of clients do you want to see? And you've got a choice of pretty much all the fields in the client data set. So we can put client name and social security number and their age and years, and we can go down to address fields, phone number fields. Here we have address, city, and state, so we could, and county is in here as well, so we could put in county, and so on and so forth. So all you're doing here is you're specifying which pieces of information you want to see about the filtered list of clients. The next step then is the same as the first step on the previous report, the client list report, where we can use the custom button and go through the same set of conditions that we did previously to establish the list of clients that we want to see. And in this case, of course, you've got the additional control of being able to determine which pieces of information are going to be included. If your output option is simply counts, and all you want to see is the CSBG section G to give you those counts, then this report is not necessary. You would use the client list. Otherwise, use this one, and it'll give you the option to choose the field values that you want to be included.